As we gather here today for the dedication of this memorial stone in memory of George Julius Stinney Jr., we do so having to consider three tragic facts that led to the culmination of this dedication. Fact number one: two young girls were tragically killed here in Alcolu by someone on March 23rd, 1944. Fact number two: George Julius Stinney Jr. on June 16th, 1944 at 7:30 a.m. was executed at the Central Correctional Institution in Columbia, South Carolina for those killings. Fact number three: 81 days lapsed from the time young George Julius Stinney Jr. was first arrested until he was executed at age 14. Now those are three inescapable facts, historical facts that no one can argue with. Those are facts that are etched in historical stones. It has been said that young George Julius Stinney Jr. walked to the execution chamber on the day of his death with a Bible under his arm. It has also been said that because of his small 5'1" frame, 90-pound body, as compared to Old Sparky was the name, eerie name, that was given to the electric chair that was used to kill young George Julius Stinney Jr. It has been said that that very same Bible that young George Julius Stinney Jr. carried under his arm on the way to the electric chair was the very same Bible that his executioners used as a booster seat for the electric chair. Now, speaking of the Bible, there's a word that appears in Joshua chapter 4, verses 4 through 6, that I find is very fitting for this occasion today. Let me read it to you from the New Living Translation. Simply says this: So Joshua called together the 12 men he had chosen, one from each of the tribes of Israel. He told them, "Go into the middle of the Jordan, in front of the ark of the Lord your God. Each of you must pick up one stone and carry it on your shoulder. 12 stones in all, one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. We will use these stones to build a memorial. In the future, your children will ask you, 'What do these stones mean?' And thus, we are here today so that history will with permanency etch in a stone of remembrance the memory of a young boy who by all accounts was unjustly accused, unjustly arrested, unjustly separated from his family, unjustly tried, unjustly convicted, and by all accounts unjustly executed." The dedication of this memorial stone by no means seeks to erase the fact that two young girls were tragically killed. This dedication does not do that. What the dedication of this memorial stone does do is call attention to all of the George Julius Stinney Jr.'s in this country that have been falsely accused and have been wrongfully convicted. If it can happen today, we need not think that a young black boy in 1944 in the South, in South Carolina, in Clarendon County, in Alcolu, South Carolina, could not be falsely accused and wrongly convicted. It is with great hope that those who passed by and gazed upon this memorial stone will certainly ask the question, what does this stone mean? We shouldn't be naive enough to think that this memorial stone will mean for some that the memories of the two young girls are being dishonored. However, when you leave from this place, don't let that thought take root. Don't let that thought come alive in your minds as to the meaning of this memorial stone. Today, this day, so that history will forever bear witness to what we mean by this memorial stone, let's set the text right here. Let's set the text right now, so that there will be no misunderstanding, so that there will be no misplaced interpretation of what is meant by this memorial stone. This memorial stone stands for justice misplaced. This memorial stone stands for truth denied. This memorial stone stands for a gross rush to judgment. This memorial stone stands for compassion abandoned. But most importantly, what we mean by this stone is that there is hope still yet alive. I note for you right now that young George Julius Stinney Jr. was born almost 9 months to the day that another young Southern Negro baby was born on January 15th, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. It chills me to think that that baby born over in Atlanta, Georgia could have met with the same similar fate that young George Julius Stinney Jr. met. That baby was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It saddens me to think what could have been written on this memorial stone today about young George Julius Stinney Jr. It saddens me to think that had truth, justice, judgment, and compassion met up with hope between March 23rd, 1944 and June 16th, 1944, what would have made the difference? It grieves me to think that one who could have been a contemporary of Dr. King was so tragically discounted and so tragically discarded. But out of the despair of the spring of 1944, 70 years later, here we stand. We stand knowing that the spring of 2014 finds that hope is alive. Hope is well. If you go to Washington, D.C., and if you have the opportunity to visit Dr. King's memorial, on that memorial you can find etched in the stone of that memorial these words: out of the mountain of despair, a stone of hope. And like Dr. King's memorial, this stone, this stone represents hope. Chiseled out of a mountain of despair. Hope. Hope for all of those who find themselves falsely accused. Hope. Hope for all of those who find themselves wrongfully convicted. Hope for all of those who wait for their innocence yet to be proved. Hope that truth will tear back the darkness of the night and light will come through. Hope that not another child will be executed in this country. Hope that the wounds of the past will soon be healed. Hope that the truth of a loving God will reign supreme. Hope! Hope! What win we by these stones? Hope!
All right. Amen.